I'm going to go ahead and call to order this March 18th, 2019 meeting of the Whitefish City Council. Councilors Sweeney and Williams are excused this evening, and we'll move on to our Pledge of Allegiance. Addie, would you please lead us tonight in our Pledge of Allegiance? Thanks, Addie. Are there any communications from the public tonight? Any communications from the public? Not seeing any. How about volunteer board reports? Any volunteer board reports from the audience? How about the council? Richard.
Yeah, not really a committee report, but I did attend the transportation open house on Monday. It was well attended. I thought there was some good information to be shared. I think my big takeaway from that is that there's still a lot of work to be done, but that we need to be more proactive as we look at transportation needs rather than constantly being reactive.
Thanks, Richard. Other volunteer board reports still?
No, I also attended the affordable housing open house, and that was not as well attended, but I thought it was full of good information, and hopefully there'll be a continuation of that discussion at the planning board tomorrow night.
Great. Thanks, Richard. Further reports from the council? Not seeing any. Move on to our consent agenda. Any changes or additions to the March 4th 2019 minutes, or can I have a motion for approval? Ryan.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Councilor Fury. Further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, like sign, and that carries unanimously. Michelle, we have no public hearings scheduled for this evening, so we'll move on to item 7, which is communications from our Public Works Director, Craig Workman.
Good evening. This is actually a joint report between Parks and Public Works, so we will deliver this together, right? If there's questions, Maria will definitely be able to help me out. So we talked about this project just a couple meetings ago when we authorized staff to move forward with the bidding process, but I'll kind of quickly run through my staff report. A lot of this will sound familiar. In an effort to increase parking for City Beach patrons, the city purchased the lot at 55 Woodland back in 2015 and subsequently advertised for proposals from qualified consulting firms to complete the designing efforts for a parking improvement project for City Beach. We've been working with TD&H on the project, as well as Bruce Booty, who is involved in the landscape plan for the parking improvements. The design team looked at several options for the parking lot, and the preferred design was presented to council back on January 22nd of this year. This alternative will create 24 additional parking spaces along Woodland Place and create a non-motorized watercraft staging area in the vacant lot. We broke the project into 3 different schedules for the bidding of the work. Schedule 1 involves the reconstruction of Woodland Place between Oregon and the alley, as well as the landscaping improvements on the vacant lot. This schedule produces 18 new parking spaces and involves pavement, curb and gutter, sidewalk, retaining wall, landscaping, and drought-tolerant lawn to serve as the non-motorized watercraft staging area. Schedule 2 of that project involves the reconstruction between Washington Avenue and the alley, and we get 6 new parking spaces from that project, or that schedule, along with all the new pavement, curb and gutter, sidewalk, and retaining wall in that section. And then Schedule 3 of the work involves the extension of the shared use path coming off of the Sky Park Bridge and along Oregon Avenue, which will then connect to City Beach. All right, so at this point, you're wondering how Craig has managed to weave a sewer project into yet another job. Well, here it is. Although the parking issue is not directly related to sanitary sewer, we do have issues at the City Beach lift station, and we saw this as a real good opportunity to combine two projects to try and get some cost effectiveness. In its current condition, access to the City Beach lift station is difficult at best. In order to remove a pump from the lift station and perform routine maintenance, heavy equipment must be hauled down a dirt path from Skiles Place down to the lift station. If the pump needs to be serviced off-site, a heavy dolly must be used to maneuver the pump back up the hill to the service truck. And when the station requires servicing, sections of heavy 6-inch vacuum hose must be laid down the path and subsequently removed. So the proposed project at the City Beach lift station involves an access improvement to the station by constructing a small utility drive, allowing service vehicles to access the station directly from Skiles Avenue. This will allow operators to use truck-mounted equipment to remove pumps and place them directly into their truck for maintenance. It will also enable us to use the Vector to directly access the wet well of the lift station when it requires pumping. There's enclosed plan sheets for both projects in your packet, which I should have mentioned, I believe begins on page 85 of your packet. So, Public Works Department worked with the Parks Department to bid these two projects together, the idea being that excess material from the Woodland Place project could be transported to the City Beach lift station for the fill necessary to construct these access improvements. Bids were opened on Tuesday, the 26th of February, and the low bidder was Watson Excavating at $368,245. This includes both the lift station improvements and all three schedules of the Woodland Place project. The cost for the lift station improvements was $92,894. This is below the fiscal year 19 budget of $110,000. The combined cost for all three schedules of the parking improvements on Woodland Place came to $275,351. This is about $65,000 above the TIF budget for fiscal year 19. There's a couple of ways to address the budget overrun for the parking improvements. The first option would be to simply eliminate Schedule 2 of the work. This will reduce the project by $100,572, bringing the job under budget. Although the elimination of this schedule of work, this is the schedule that goes from Washington to the alley, it'll only take 6 parking spaces away from the total project. Staff is really concerned about the fact that it'll sort of leave the block half done. So we'll have new pavement, curb, gutter, sidewalk from Oregon to the alley, but everything from the alley to Washington will remain as is, and it'll feel somewhat unfinished. Another option that we came up with is to award the entire project and negotiate with the contractor on the landscaping portion of the work. The landscaping portion came in about $40,000 over the estimate on the project, and we feel like we can work with the contractor on that number. Although the total project will still likely exceed the budget by as much as $20,000, this could be handled in a future budget amendment depending on total TIF expenditures in 2019. So based on the results of the bid, it is staff's recommendation that Watson Construction be awarded both projects in their entirety at a price of $368,245. Staff will then work with Watson on a change order to eliminate the landscaping portion of the project or complete the landscaping at a more cost-effective rate, or potentially looking to do that work in-house. We will also work with the Finance Department on a budget amendment should that become necessary based on future TIF expenditures at year-end. So that concludes our staff report, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Craig. Any questions for Craig on his staff report?
Greg, two things. One is the constructed path down to the lift station. Is that going to be drivable in the winter time, or is that too steep to get down there?
It will still be drivable in the winter. We likely won't want to take the Vector down that road in the winter, but we'll still be able to get a service truck down there so we can get much better access to the lift station. We typically don't do Vector maintenance in the winter. We at least try and stay away from the dead of winter just because that truck requires recycled water to run through its system, and so we'll still see a significant benefit from the path in the winter.
And secondly, you call for a pad for an emergency generator. Does this, I couldn't tell if the bid also includes an emergency generator?
You know what, I apologize, I completely skipped that section. The city has already purchased the generator for the site. City Beach is susceptible to power outages, and so we do have an emergency generator to locate there. The bid simply includes pouring the concrete pad and installing the generator and running the wiring down to the lift station. But yes,
Okay.
that's also included.
All right, thanks.
Further questions? Andy?
I would make a motion.
Okay.
I would go ahead and move on staff's recommendation that we award Watson Construction, be awarded the City Beach Parking and Lift Station Improvement Project in the amount of $368,245, the understanding that they will work on reducing the budget difference by discussing with them the landscaping portion of the project. And I'll speak to that if I get a second.
Thanks, Andy. Seconded by Melissa. Andy?
I guess just a couple of thoughts. First of all, we all know how important parking is at City Beach. And we're going to tie up a little bit of that probably with our decontamination station that we're going to have down there in the overflow parking now. So we made another decision earlier in the evening that's going to impact it even more. And while it is over what we had anticipated for a budget, my guess is if we were to eliminate Schedule 2 as a standalone project, that's probably going to cost a lot more than $100,572. So ultimately, we wouldn't be saving any money anyway in the long term. So anyway, I'm comfortable that staff will get us a number that works and get us a project that we're all going to be proud of.
Thanks, Andy. Further comments on the motion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And those opposed, like sign. And that carries unanimously. Michelle. Thanks, Craig. We'll move on to item 8, communications from our city manager. You have Adam's report enclosed with the packet. Any questions for Adam on his status report? Quick question, Adam. You reference meeting with Troy to discuss a public-private partnership for a new cemetery. Who is Troy?
So Troy Knutson is the managing director at Austin Funeral and Cremation Services. So he's one that we met up with, I think, last fall, and I've been keeping contact with him on various things. He's doing a little bit of outreach to some of his partners to see what public-private partnerships are out there.
Great.
He is willing to partner with the city, so we're just trying to look and see if there's any advantages that can be gained by doing that. When we look at land, infrastructure, ongoing maintenance costs, and everything of running our own cemetery, it's really cost prohibitive, so I wanted to explore the public-private partnership route.
Great idea. Thanks for looking into that. Anything else to report on?
I think the only thing I wanted to add is that Craig does have a Central Avenue Phase 2 meeting tomorrow night at 6:30 right here, because we moved the planning board meeting from Thursday to Tuesday. Craig's going to take his meeting down to the lobby, so there will be a couple of things going on here tomorrow night, but at 6 o'clock it is the public hearing for the inclusionary zoning, and then downstairs at 6:30 will be the Central Avenue Phase 2.
Great. Thanks, Adam. And we'll move on to item 9, which is communications from our mayor and city councilors. You have Dana and Adam's suggested schedule for consideration and adoption of the FY20 budget. That will need to be motioned on by the council unless you have any questions for Dana or Adam on the schedule. Richard.
I don't have any. I was just pulling out my calendar.
Sorry about that. I thought you were
No.
signaling you had a
reaching for a
comment. Do those tentative budget meetings of May 28th and June 10th work? At least the May 28th meeting for the council? Right now it does, right? Okay,
28th works right now.
okay, great.
28th and
June 10.
June 10.
June 10. We will need a motion adopting the budget schedule.
I
Richard.
would move to adopt the fiscal year 20 budget calendar as presented.
Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Councilor Hildner. Further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, like sign, and that carries unanimously. And we'll turn it back to the council. And Richard, any comments tonight?
None.
Thank you. Andy?
None.
Ryan?
None.
Melissa? Okay, I've got just a few. Maria, I just realized I did not respond to your draft letter to DOT regarding the Highway 40 and river access from our last meeting, so I'll make sure to get on that in the morning. I don't know what reminded me tonight, but something did, so sorry about the delay there. Would that be a letter the council would like to review before it's mailed?
I don't need to review it. Oh, it wouldn't hurt to look at it, but no, let's get it done.
Okay. I'll send it to you just so you have a copy of it for your records.
Okay, thanks.
Secondly, I attended the Montana Lakes Conference, which was an inaugural Lakes Conference sponsored by the Whitefish Lake Institute. There were several staff members at the meeting. It was last Thursday and Friday. I thought it was just an excellent forum. It really put Whitefish, and more importantly, Whitefish Lake Institute on the map in terms of, local efforts to combat everything from AIS to just water quality in general for Whitefish Lake and local area water bodies. It was very well attended. I think we had over 150 participants. We had professors from the University of Montana, Lake Tahoe. Others flew in from around the country, Vermont. CSKT was well represented, as well as the University of Montana Biostation. So just overall, a great meeting, and although I think we'll probably, hopefully, break even as an organization, even if we go a little bit in the red, I think it's going to be well worth it down the road, because we certainly gained a lot of recognition as an organization, which I think will help build partnerships in the future when it comes to fundraising for the issues we're addressing here locally. So thanks to staff for participating in that conference as well. It was great to see you there. That's all I had. Richard?
Am I in error, but is this Angie's birthday today? No, okay, oh, it's coming.
Monday.
Next Monday. Oh, okay, we won't have a meeting. Happy birthday next Monday, Angie.
No, we are going to call a special meeting.
Oh, okay.
On that note, how does meeting at our retreat Thursday at about 6 p.m. work for everyone? Is that too early? Work for
Thursday
you?
evening?
Thursday evening.
Not till 6?
Or do you want to meet earlier? We've got Thursday night set aside. They are providing dinner, and then we have the next morning, Adam and Angie are scheduled to come visit with us. What did we decide on that, Adam? Around lunchtime?
Yeah, around 11 or 12.
Yeah. So they'll be with us for several hours, so it just depends on how much time you think we'll need to get through the information. I think if we're there by 5 or 6, we're probably sitting pretty good. And some of us have to work on Thursday. Does that work for you? Yeah. Okay, and I'll convey that back to Katie. I don't think Frank's going to be able to make it. He let me know that this morning, but we'll still have a good meeting regardless. So I'll coordinate that with you further this week, Adam. So,
And the carpool?
yeah, we can organize a carpool. Maybe we can talk about that after the meeting. So, anything further? On that note, with perhaps a record-breaking meeting, we are adjourned.